Okay, we are live. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. We are joined once again by very special guest, Seby from Resi. It's been a few months, Seby, since we got to last connect about everything you're doing with real estate super intelligence. I've been following everything that you've been doing. Seems like there's been some very interesting updates, which I would love to get into today. So excited to dissect all that with you. Maybe by way of introduction, you can give us a quick intro. I know there's probably some people watching who are very familiar with you and Resi, but possibly for people who are a little bit newer, maybe you can give us a very quick rundown and tell us, who is Seby and what is Resi.
You got it, Gordon. Always a pleasure to be here. I remember enjoying the last live we did a lot, and I have high hopes for this one. So
Yes, sir.
don't let me down.
Right.
But to anybody who doesn't know who I am, as you just heard, my name is Seby. I'm the founder of Resi. Resi is subnet 46 on Bittensor. The goal of our mission is in the name, essentially, and a thesis that we have about AI. And that thesis is that the creation of superintelligence, or to keep it in simple terms, the
Hmm.
creation of objectively better intelligence, right? Objectively, the best intelligence will be one built on BitTensor, but two, um, this type of intelligence, the superior intelligence, uh, also super, right? Could or is a culmination of very narrow problems that can be solved with
Hmm.
models and agents. So at Resi, we have a model competition. We'll get into the details of our incentive mechanism and all of that. But what you can see Resi as is this hub for real estate primitives.
Hmm.
Um, we have quite an extensive roadmap, but the crux of what we are doing is building intelligence commodities that are faster, better, cheaper than everything on the market. How we do that is through the BitTensor economics and
Hmm.
an insane focus to solving one problem at a time. That is it.
Yeah.
So um, right now we're at quite an inflection point in the venture,
Hmm.
and the team is working extremely hard. So I wanted to make sure we connected again to make sure your fan base didn't miss out on a
Yeah.
great opportunity.
100%. So maybe maybe in super simple terms, and I may be maybe oversimplifying things, but correct me if I'm wrong. Resi is geared towards being a pricing oracle for real estate and bringing the ability to accurately price real estate onto blockchain rails. Is that an oversimplification, or for someone who's completely new, how would you, in very simple terms, describe Resi and what you're actively trying to do for real estate?
Okay. Um, I guess it's an oversimplification if we're talking about the entire venture.
Hmm.
Um, but excuse me, you're entirely correct about what you just explained. So the pricing engine that can be essentially inferred by the fact that we run an appraisal competition.
Hmm.
What that means is miners submit uh, AI models to Hugging Face, and then validators are checking how accurate those models are on properties that have sold. So we know the ground truth. The ground truth is what the property actually sold for, and this is all across the United States.
Hmm.
That being said, that is our first challenge. Our goal is to build on top of that with competitions such as inspection, competitions such as title, right?
Hmm.
If you think about a real estate transaction, you have to get an appraisal so you can get your loan, and that the essentially the market can function, right? You can't have secondary markets like um, when a bank bundles up a ton of mortgages. You need to have this like appraisal data, this pricing data, so that they
Hmm.
know that they're not getting garbage, right? We don't want to repeat 2008.
Yeah.
So that is, appraisals, inspections, so that the person knows that they're buying a house, and also the bank knows they're financing a house that is not trash, or about to just crumble to the ground.
Mhm.
And then also title. This is okay. Who owns this house? Does this person own it? Do they owe anything in terms of taxes, mechanic liens, and really, those are the only three things that need to exist, and those are the only three services you leverage when you buy a property.
Mhm.
So yes, to your point, we are doing a pricing engine. This pricing engine, the hopes is to continue on our path so that we can bring it on chain.
Mhm.
But I'd love to do this bit by bit. I don't want to dump too much. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So maybe that's a good segue into some of the tweaks or pivots that have happened since you and I last connected. So I know the vision is still very much intact, but can you maybe describe what pivots or changes have taken place over the past couple of months for people who, I came across Resi, 7 months ago, when you really began the journey. I remember seeing it on X the first time you started kind of announcing it and started following. So yeah, maybe you can kind of paint a little bit of the picture of what's different now compared to 3 or 4 months ago in terms of the focus and what some of those pivots are kind of becoming.
Yeah. So let's start with the most critical element of the venture, which is going to be the incentive mechanism.
Hmm.
Back when we launched the subnet with a new name, new team, we were doing essentially data collection. Right. My
Hmm.
background is in building and exiting a real estate data company. So I thought to myself and the team, I said, hey, well, let's do more of the same, right? That was really successful. I have no compete clause that is live. And we realized it's not the best way to utilize Bittensor, right? Also, there's value to subnets, excuse me, subnets that serve a purpose. And the purpose of data collection is already served.
Hmm.
Funny enough, it's subnet 13. Subnet 13 was what we initially forked.
Yes.
So to make it make sense, instead of forking subnet 13, we should have just gone to them and said, "Hey, go collect this data. We're going to repackage it and sell it." That would
Hmm.
have been much faster if we really wanted to pursue the data product. But we're realizing that we realized that even in the best case scenario with that data product, it would take a while to build, right? This like full suite data uh, collection as the base layer. It would take a long time to build, and also we're capped. Everybody and their sister
Hmm.
and aunt and uncle can spin up some agent that goes and scrapes the internet and collects data. So really, um, we understood, especially for real estate, it's all open for the most part. Um, but I
Yeah.
say that because switching to building intelligence, which is really what harnesses the power of having a subnet, uh, was where our attention was diverted to in the best way possible. I owe it to Const honestly for kind of setting us in the right direction. He was like, "Guys, what are you doing?
Hmm.
Why are you collecting this data? Just go use Data Universe." And I was like, "We didn't even think about it, right? Because
Hmm.
that's not how the rest of the crypto ecosystem works. How the rest of the ecosystem works is like if I want to do something, I'm going to fork the thing, the
Hmm.
code base that it basically does that, and then I'm going to run it as like a separate thing. There is really no like uh, network effect other than for like Aave,
Hmm.
right? Like they have all of the liquidity for the most part on EVM.
Yeah.
So that was our initial thought. Uh, we also had a really big and bulky team. We brought the team size down,
Hmm.
and actually we've gotten more effective. This is like we had a team of 7 at one point. Now we're a team of I think it's 4 people,
Hmm.
um, and we're moving faster than ever. But the direction is just doubling down on intelligence commodities. And my favorite part of the venture is that it actually gets us closer to our end goal. Our end goal, uh, and this was really from the beginning. This never changed. The one thing that has never changed is that we want to use this data, this intelligence rather that we're collecting
Mhm.
and making available to the world. We want to make that intelligence used to tokenize property, right?
Mhm.
It's kind of like inevitable, right? You have BlackRock, you have uh, Robinhood, you have Coinbase. Everyone's talking about tokenization of
Mhm.
real world assets. It's quite inevitable, especially in real estate, because it is just so complicated.
Mhm.
But for the average person, they won't have access to these tools. They won't have access to really harness tokenization to then be able to access capital to pay for their kids' college,
Mhm.
access capital to pay for their, grandmother's renovation needs because now she's in a wheelchair and she needs to be accommodated,
Mhm.
right? All of these, uh, basically, it's equity-based liquidity, right? I have equity, I need liquidity.
Yeah.
How fast can I get there, right? The the end vision is to accelerate that speed, that process, and make
Mhm.
it much cheaper. Today, you have to go to a bank. They have to pull your credit score. They have to go to the property, see if you've, dumped the place.
Mhm.
And then it still takes another few weeks to just get the loan.
Yeah.
In the case of Resi, if our data is being used, or I say data, it's like the output of our intelligence is being used.
Mhm.
We know what the house is worth. We've done the appraisal. We know what the condition of it is. We've seen the inspection. We know they own it and how much of it they own.
Mhm.
So then we just say, okay, well, here's this pool of capital. If you use our Oracle and come on chain, and they don't even have to know they're using the blockchain, you
Mhm.
can now get a loan for 5%,
Mhm.
fixed rate loan, or you can get a loan for 3%, fixed rate loan.
Mhm.
And here you'll be able to access liquidity for your property, right? At
Mhm.
the end of the day, that's why you sell a house. It's not like you don't want the house. It's like you want the money
Yeah.
more. But
Mhm.
what if you could have the house on, and then also the money on really great terms? And that is extremely powerful considering most of America's wealth is sitting in their homes,
Yeah.
uh, untouched.
Yeah. And I think the that vision and that end goal of tokenizing real estate is it's such a big market. It's such a big problem that you guys are tackling. Um, if we reverse engineer from that, you were talking about intelligence commodities as what the miners are essentially producing. Is that correct? Could you could you explain what is an intelligence commodity in the world of Resi and how that maybe differs from what the miners were incentivized to produce 3 or 4 months ago?
Okay. So an intelligence commodity at the highest level is a model or agent
Mhm.
that performs a specific function. Um, how does that work in comparison to what we did in the past? Is actually quite simple. Um, in the past, we were just developing uh, data, right? Data and intelligence are very different,
Mhm.
right? Intelligence is so dynamic that you can have a user with a different intention. In our case, right now, it's different property addresses,
Mhm.
right? But with data, it's kind of binary. Do you have it or do you not have it? And although it's probably useful, we don't think it is the most impactful for our direction. Right? I mean, our miners use a ton of data to train up these models. But an intelligence commodity, and this is a subject that I'm hoping to push an article about pretty soon.
Mhm.
Intelligence commodities are really interesting because as more and more professionals um, build out these agentic workflows and build out any workflow for that matter, they're going to use AI to build it.
Hmm.
Um, when they go and select what APIs to use, because really everything is just a wrapper of a wrapper of a wrapper, right? Even like companies like Nvidia, they're essentially wrapping the people who press these disks or um, these computation engines. But to that point, what API is going to be selected by these agents that are created? And it is objective truth that these agents will pick the fastest, cheapest, and best. They'll basically look at the competition and say, okay, Zillow has their estimate. It is known to be this accurate, and uh,
Hmm.
it is this cost, and it takes this much time to get an output. Um, Resi happens to be faster, better, cheaper. uh, yeah, in the next few weeks, we'll be reaching that point where we're even better than Zillow. Um, but in terms of uh, the 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 principles you build this with, that's also going to be important. How can an AI know that you're going to be accurate if you
Hmm.
didn't report the way that we did, which is every day we have a competition, it's live, you could see the data we tested with. So the point to make, or the point to really grasp when understanding intelligence commodities, is that there are services online that need to happen. These services need APIs and they need very specialized. And that's why I love agents, and people do love
Hmm.
agents, because you can just it's like your own super intelligence, right? And the idea is that you have all this narrow intelligence, the best API for this and that and this and that, and you basically just put them together. And
Hmm.
now you're not confined to like a SaaS that is basically a company doing that for you. You can just do it all yourself.
Hmm.
In many cases with companies, they're not giving you the best because maybe they're the best at one thing, but the rest of the stack is not really uh, high performing or fast or cheap for that matter. So
Hmm.
these intelligence commodities are essentially specialized services. You can either have a super broad 1 trillion parameter model, right? Um, or you can have a 200 megabyte model that is able to price real estate at 98% accuracy.
Hmm.
Now, right now we're at 82%,
Yeah.
but this went live almost exactly 30 days ago,
Yeah.
or a little bit less. So that is what a intelligence commodity is. Digital commodities were like essentially SaaS. Like somebody had access, or this company paid in bulk for this huge database, and then they enrich that data so that they can use it for have it work with their users. And a lot of the digital commodities that existed
Hmm.
were really just process, like, oh, I can take this data and turn it into this, or just data.
Yeah.
Now it is extremely dynamic with models and agents coming into the API landscape.
Hmm. Yeah. Maybe that's a good segue to talk a little bit about the dashboard, Sebi. And I'm going to share my screen here because this is another update that you guys pushed in the last month or so. You were referencing the 82% accuracy, which we can see here on screen. Maybe you could speak to this a little bit. And what we're viewing here is obviously the competitions from the models being produced by the miners and how they are creating, the estimate for pricing the real estate based on, I think it's data from the past 24 hours based on sales that are happening. So yeah, I'd love you to just maybe talk us through this, because this is obviously a pretty powerful visualization, and obviously that 82% is probably going to keep creeping upwards.
Correct. Yes. I think the headline here is Resi is the highest accuracy, lowest cost, and fastest open source real estate pricing model in the world,
Hmm.
specifically for USA based properties. There's no other, like we've been searching endlessly. and everything is either just one town or one state or one zip code,
Mhm.
or one a region of the country at best. And with by leveraging Bittensor for what it is, which is like this uh, culmination of competitions, right? This like group of competitions.
Mhm.
The competition that we chose basically forces these miners to submit their models with a license. Um, we are able to then test those models and productize those models. We're soon going live on Shoots. I'm
Mhm.
sure you're familiar with Shoots,
Yeah.
some of the viewers, but if you don't know what Shoots is, this is a platform. And also, I think this plays into the distribution to uh, agents, right? We're saying, hey, our bet is that we're an intelligence commodity that agents will always pick when a realtor builds a workflow or their AI builds a workflow.
Mhm.
We are going to be what prices those assets to generate reports, to generate offers, to generate whatever it may be that you need
Mhm.
to know price about, right? Models, financial models. But with Shoots, it is the most used inference provider in the world, or at least on Open Router.
Mhm.
And they play a big part for our distribution, right? Because if you think about what is the flow of an AI agent, or what is the flow of an AI that has web access, it's going to likely land on Shoots and say, "What's here?" Right? This place is known for the best, fastest, cheapest APIs for
Mhm.
open source intelligence. What can I use here? So there's that, but the reason why they're the cheapest is because Shoots has made this innovation to allow data center
Mhm.
owners and operators to basically plug in their code, and when their machines are idle, Shoots will use it. So it's like free money to these data centers that inevitably have downtime.
Mhm.
So um, the dashboard here is showing that we have an 82% model, which means on average we are 82% correct, right? We have an average error of
Mhm.
essentially 20% or 18%. Um, so yeah, we're on our path. We're on our path. We've done some things. We're doing some things in terms of turning on 100% incentive distribution, where we don't burn any of the rewards per day. Right now, we're at about 50%,
Mhm.
and we're expanding upon this competition. Um, so, not to push too much into this answer, but uh, this dashboard, we're glad it's there. We love that you can basically, if you click into predictions, right, say go to the top model, um, just click
Yeah.
into that, you can see that we won 12 out of 120, so basically 10% against this estimate, and you can see how good or bad we did on that.
Mhm.
Um, so
Okay.
yeah, it's all there, and we're going to build on top of this.
Yeah. Okay, I love this. I've got a couple of quick questions on some of the data here because I think data visualization in the dashboard, I think this is very important for a lot of even casual investors who are looking to see what is Resi doing, what is the progress, how are the miners competing, and how is how is the accuracy improving? And you've gone from like 50% to 82% in the past few weeks. Um, I guess one question is we can see the comparison here to the Zestimate. I'm assuming that I mean, if I go back to the previous page, is the accuracy still lower than the Zestimate on average right now? And the goal is to get and obviously exceed that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, well, in that, on that page that you were just on, there was 12 out of 120
Yeah,
on the right there, right?
got it. Yeah.
Resi won 12 out of 119.
Hmm.
That means that the Zestimate was more accurate uh, for basically all but 10% of
Yeah.
the competition. So the difference between 82% and 95% is not 13%. It is you are going to lose 90% of the time.
Mhm.
In case Resi is going to lose 90% of the time.
Mhm.
As we creep up, this is where we start to have this takeoff where now we have our eyes set on 50% win rate.
Mhm.
After that, a 75% win rate.
Mhm.
At anything above a 50% win rate, we are more accurate
Mhm.
objectively than Zillow,
Yeah.
right? That's why we
Mhm.
have that stat there, is right because you could see that progress. So um, our goal is to just accelerate this. Yeah, so
Yeah.
you could see his estimate is around 5%, and that's why we have state of the art is essentially 5%. A lot of appraisers, like people who go boots on the ground to properties and provide pricing to banks or you
Mhm.
know brokerages or whatever the matter. Um, they're also in that say 5 to 3% bucket,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
that's a huge shift. Um, and our goal is to get to 99%.
Yeah.
Right? We want to know. We want to have so much insight, and this is possible with the level of intelligence that people know how to build today, and miners already
Mhm.
produce on many other subnets. But we already know so much information that as long as we have these models or these agents that will soon be implemented into the competition have access to the internet, they'll be
Mhm.
able to know like, is Amazon building a warehouse in this area?
Mhm.
Is are there government programs for new families to get a grant on their first on their down payment of their first
Mhm.
home, right? All these little things drive the price up.
Yeah.
They'll have access to prediction market data, which talks about like bills passing and essentially the economy, even in micro markets.
Yeah.
So we have this ability. This is like I say inflection point at the beginning of this call because uh, there are a few tweaks that we can make that and are making that make Resi a technology that is undeniably the leader
Mhm.
in the industry, not just in terms of accuracy, but in terms of agentic usage.
Yeah.
And to that point, the last thing I'll say on this is that um, there is no higher accuracy open source appraisal model. That's the like
Even as of today at
yeah,
82%. Yeah.
at 82%, right? There is nothing that reaches the scale that we have that was built in an open manner like we have
Mhm.
and is as accurate as we are.
Yeah.
Um, and we are just scratching the surface.
Yeah, you're just getting started. And that's a good lead into what I was just about to say because you're talking about the tweaks. So the accuracy has gone from 50% to 82% over the past few weeks. It's going to continue creeping higher, but I'm guessing part of that creeping higher is based on what the miners are producing and becoming more accurate. But it's also, correct me if I'm wrong, somewhat dependent on tweaks that you're making to the incentive mechanism and the data points that you're asking the miners to produce.
Yeah.
So, what tweaks have you been making over the past few weeks, and then what other tweaks are you maybe planning to implement on the incentive mechanism to keep driving that towards 90+%?
Yeah. So most of the tweaks are around making sure that our miners are protected.
Hmm.
So this is I won't get into any technical jargon here, but when a miner submits a model and they're doing this on chain, uh, it is very easy, and this has been a problem for other subnets. It is very easy for somebody to basically copy that model and
Hmm.
submit it themselves.
Got it.
There's something called commit reveal that stops that. Right?
Hmm.
So we've implemented that. Um, we've also we're at the point where now we need to go get better miners. How do you get better miners? You give people more money to solve the problem. So now we're turning our burn to zero, and all of that daily prize pool um, is going to a miner, one miner per day.
Hmm.
And also, if there is no innovation, this is a change that's actually like being built like as I'm talking to you.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, the change is right now we basically work on like this moving average. um, and like you can see it. It's not like the charts that we're um, used to in Bittensor,
Mm-hmm.
which are just like up and to the right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, there's a car just
No
beeping.
worries. We'll
You
keep
hear
a little bit. It's not too bad.
it? Okay, good. But essentially, you have like a model, like many charts that just like go up and to the right, whether it's
Mhm.
like financial or whether it is like the Swy bench stuff up and to the right. What we have is essentially we're giving new data, different properties every single day
Mhm.
to these models. So a change that we made is we said, all right, regardless of the fact that we're giving you new data, we're not going to score the highest performer of this data set. We are only going to incentivize the highest performer of the entire competition.
Mhm.
So even though you're getting new data to basically get judged with, we don't care.
Mhm.
We want to now improve. Like in this example, it would be you need to have 83.24% accuracy on
Mhm.
a model. So now the chart will not have any more dips. It'll just be stagnate or innovate,
Mhm.
stagnate, innovate, and that's what I believe in is the most optimal way. Also,
Mhm.
if somebody's like innovates so well that nobody can beat them for like a week,
Mhm.
who are we to say they shouldn't get the reward?
Yeah.
They deserve that reward because they did something impressive. And there's also the incentive for people in the miner community to go and beat them,
Mhm.
right? So it works both ways, right? It makes somebody innovate to the fullest potential, but then it keeps incentivizing them.
Mhm.
And then other people are like, wow, that guy's made 10 grand in the last 4 days.
Mhm.
Let me get some of that. So, yeah, let me try to think of an upcoming change. Also, I kind of alluded to this. We're going to be adding um, an agentic competition. So
Mhm.
this is basically stacking what we have now. Hey, build or use an open source model. Chances are they'll have to build
Mhm.
their open source model and now plug this into an agent. So it'll be like uh, a competition where instead of the validators just looking at Hugging Face models, because that's where we're getting all of these, right? All of these
Mhm.
models are just on Hugging Face. It'll be, hey, did you push this to Hugging Face? And did you make the agent on GitHub? And is the code public?
Mhm.
Those are the two questions that they have to answer in this competition. And then we judge them still the same way,
Mhm.
right? But you could assume that like a model is kind of like stuck in the mud. A model is kind of like an old person,
Mhm.
somebody who like really knows their stuff and they're not deviating from what they know, right?
Mhm.
They're sitting in their recliner chair and they're telling you about the history
Yeah.
of the world. An agent is more like this, 20 to 30-year-old type person who is like, I know some stuff, but I'm essentially going to fine tune how effective I am by accessing all the technology in the world. I'm going to access the internet, and then I'm going
Mhm.
to access, other AI and things like that to get the best results. So we're basically going from like this old person sitting in their chair predicting property pricing and like very stuck in its ways. Doesn't have access to the outside world
Mhm.
to like this young agent essentially that is going to be extremely ambitious and able to access external information.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sharing the graphic that you shared with me before the call on screen, Seby, and you touched on this a few minutes ago. The slashable nodes using shoots, and then the API for the Oracle network connecting to smart contracts. Um, can you speak to this a little bit more? And correct me if I'm wrong again, but I think this API is kind of what opens up the ability for the agentic economy and for agents to start tapping into um, all of the pricing data, and then as you said, using Resi as that fastest, cheapest, best source of real estate data. Is
Yeah,
that? Mhm.
yeah, definitely. I will say that so in this presentation, it's in my pinned post on my profile,
Hmm.
but there is there is this is stage two, right? The slide that is attributed to stage one um, is the intelligence, right? So uh, I kind of alluded to this earlier, but we are in this phase where we're making these intelligence commodities, like these real estate primitives. You have to transact, you need to do these things, and that's what we're building out on our subnet. But then you have to think like, okay, well, then how is this used, right? To provide intelligence to agents in the way that we've been explaining,
Hmm.
fastest, cheapest, best, is great. Like honestly, like you can go raise money on that idea now, right? If you have the economics to prove that, and you have the open environments to share that journey, like we are, you can go raise money, and that's great. But then you have to ask yourself, how do you take your entity, your organization, to a multi-billion-dollar organization,
Hmm.
right? A deca-billion-dollar organization. And fact of the matter, and to say it quite explicitly, this is how we do it.
Hmm.
This is how we become a multi-billion-dollar venture. And let's walk through the process. So, as I explained, we have, well, the beginning of this, we kind of touched on the oracle,
Hmm.
right? We are considering ourselves an oracle. Our intelligence can be seen as an oracle, essentially, right? An oracle is just a source of truth.
Hmm.
So here's the truth of this property's condition. Here's the truth of this property's price. Here is the truth of this property's ownership information,
Hmm.
right? You put that all together, and now you basically have all of the ingredients to tokenize a property. So with the decentralized Oracle network, this is exactly how Chainlink works.
Hmm.
For those who don't know, Chainlink is who's essentially providing the pricing data on Bitcoin and Ethereum and all of your favorite assets, so that they can have liquidity pools for lending. They can be bought and sold on exchanges, decentralized or centralized.
Hmm.
The way that they operate, it's called a DON, a decentralized Oracle network, is you have all of these nodes, right? For Ethereum's price on Ethereum network, Chainlink has 27 nodes that run the Ethereum price.
So
Oh,
just so I can clarify, there that's like 27 different kind of individual sources it's pulling from to get the most accurate price for Ethereum,
right,
basically. Yeah.
right. So what happens is Chainlink's like, hey, here's the code to run. They basically put these oracles or these nodes like in a box. They give them the box, they give them a sippy cup, and they're like, go sit in the box and spit out these numbers, essentially. Um, and as they provide these numbers, hey, we're calling you, you guys, give us a number for what ETH is valued at. It goes
Mhm.
and runs its computation, and they all provide an output.
Mhm.
Chainlink just takes essentially an average,
Yeah.
to keep it simple. They take an average of all 27 of those outputs,
Mhm.
right? Um, if they're wrong, if these nodes are wrong, they get slashed and they lose all of their stake,
Yeah.
right? Same thing is going to apply to us. For the initial stage, we're going to host this ourselves uh,
Mhm.
using shoots, but as we develop, we will bring on more nodes to the network.
So
Okay.
can I clarify something? The individual miners will not be acting as the nodes. It's
No,
like the
nor
the
will the validators.
got it. The combined output that they're producing with the models is analyzed by you initially to create a node. How will other nodes be spun up then on Resi?
Yeah, so it would be great to have you as a node. All you
Mhm.
need is access to compute, which everybody has through many of the different subnets. Chances are we're going to basically have like backup on backup on backup of decentralized providers.
Mhm.
So we're extremely redundant. And as long as you stake something like uh, 10,000 to 50,000 alpha, depending
Mhm.
on price at the time, you'll be able to get a node on our network, right? At the end of the day, a subnet is a sub network, which implies that it is a network, and we intend to use it in that manner. The issue with validators and also miners is that they don't have any recourse to not performing well, right? If a validator doesn't perform well, it's like, all right, well, they didn't put any money into this. Who cares? So it's actually something I think should be fixed on Bittensor. Like, why are all these validators doing stuff that they're not being held accountable to other than deregistration, which is like, oh, let me just register again. So not to get too into the weeds of a subnet, but that is the first element of really making the intelligence that we're building now, which we are in stage one. How do we make this intelligent, expand our opportunity in the world as a company? Because at the end of the day, we are a company. The next is the smart contract standard, right? This flow, I will say, is actually the one thing that we've never gotten a no on. We've pitched our AI appraisal, and people are like, oh, well, come back to me when you're at 95%. We'll just use Zillow for now.
Yeah.
Because we're used to it. But hell, if you're 10 times cheaper and more accurate, or even 10% more accurate, and you're much faster, we'll just go with you guys, right?
Yeah.
But with this smart contract element, this is where the ears of tokenization platforms, when we meet with them, this is where they perk up. Because when we go to these platforms and we initially say, hey, every property you offer, you can basically tell your investors, your platform, and also the people selling what it's worth. Okay, that's great, right? Somebody knows if they're getting a good deal or a bad deal when they buy the token of a property at a given price. But then they get really excited, right? That's like cool. What's really cool is when you say, hey, well, we're actually going to be this hub for building out the smart contracts, the audits needed, the compliance needed, so that you can tokenize property. To these platforms, which is kind of like the SaaS game today, their biggest cost is development. And what goes into development is a lot of audits and compliance. You have to see that if we're trying to accelerate the industry, what better way to do that than remove all of the headaches around launching a tokenization, essentially brokerage. Platforms are what brokerages are going to turn into, and they function as brokerages. Hey, we found this seller. This is the opportunity, right? What else is like Zillow than just a hub of that? So when we go to them and say, hey, you can actually just focus on that, finding buyers, finding sellers, and you don't have to develop anything. If anything, we'll help you spin this all up. They go, whoa. And this is where their ears, like I said, they perk up, and they're now fully listening, and they love it. And then considering we have our smart contracts that are interacting with our Oracle network, number 3 there is where they go, that's it, sold, please take my money. How soon can we pay you? And that is liquefying, activating all of the tokens that they sell. Right now, how the industry works, in the best case possible, is you have all these properties being tokenized, and then the tokens just sit in somebody's wallet. You can't borrow against those tokens. You can't do anything with those tokens at all. So our I guess third element here is to have a vault that aggregates capital from lenders to be a 3% fixed, a 5% fixed. They will all have different terms, so both sides benefit with their risk profiles. A variable rate pool. So if you have property tokens, maybe you tokenize your property and you're the only person that owns that property token. We don't care, because now you can go access a home loan at 3% when the national interest rate right now is like 6%.
Mhm.
Whoa, that's insane. And then you just service that debt as you would a home equity loan.
Mhm.
So yeah, when we say, hey, you're going to not only, if you use our smart contract standard, which uses our intelligence, right? You can't just like mint tokens out of thin air.
Mhm.
The great part about this structure is that we even escrow tokens based on how much somebody owns of the home, right? If I
Mhm.
own 100% of a home, cool. We'll let you, I'm able to tokenize the entire thing. But if I own 50% of the home, I should be able to tokenize the entire thing.
Mhm.
Then the 50% of the tokens are locked.
Mhm.
And then considering we are connected to this person's Plaid, right, or using Plaid, we connect to their bank. We can say, okay, well, we know your mortgage, how it's structured. Every time you make a payment, which we'll see through our Plaid integration, you get more ownership to this degree. You get this
Mhm.
many tokens.
Yeah.
Cool. Now those tokens get unlocked to you.
Mhm. Yeah.
So by doing this extreme edge case solving, we are able to have full confidence in allowing people to borrow against these assets. I mean, this is the confidence you should have just to allow people to sell these assets.
Mhm.
Um, so that was a lot, but
Yeah.
the idea to bring it all together is that we have this network that is used to do conditional minting and burning and locking of tokens
Mhm.
of tokenized property. And then because we know that the smart contracts are safe, we know the data is correct, we can then offer financial services
Mhm.
as if we have an appraiser, like the most scalable appraiser who can be anywhere at all times, um, ever, which is essentially the how banks work, right? You get the property
Mhm.
appraised, and then they will give you the mortgage based on those terms.
Mhm.
Same thing here, but in an insanely accelerated manner.
Mhm.
Whew, that was a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot, but it's all good insights, and I think you painted a good picture for, how this infrastructure flow is directly tied to the end vision and the goal. For component number 2 here, the smart contract standard, which is, I guess, aiming to optimize all that audit and compliance piece. You said people's ears perk up and they get excited about that. Is Who are those customers in, let's say, the next 6 to 12 months? Are they real estate firms? Are they, we the agentic economy, I think, I, we've discussed that, and I agree that's going to be a big component. But in the next 6 to 12 months, who are the people who are getting most excited about that piece that you just mentioned?
Yeah. So let's name names. Let's name some names. Well, the first one we announced was Commodities.
Yeah.
Um, that is a team that's focused on commercial tokenization.
Hmm.
They basically, and I honestly I feel horrible because they're waiting on us to push a lot of these developments.
Hmm.
Regardless, they have around $500 million in LOIs signed to tokenize people's portfolios
Hmm.
in the West, you know,
Hmm.
of the USA. So this is like Nevada, California,
Hmm.
some in Arizona, but um, that is one. Another one is Estate Protocol. This is essentially the tokenization platform for real estate on Arbitrum.
Hmm.
Um, there is Honey Shares. They focus on Florida-based Airbnbs. Right, a
Hmm.
lot of vacations happening in Florida. Tokenize them through Airbnb. The crazy thing there, real quick, and this is also part of why there's so much interest from these parties,
Hmm.
that when you have an Airbnb, traditionally these are yielding like 15% per year,
Hmm.
right? If you can access 5% money against your 15% yield,
Hmm.
you can basically, and you know that the price is stable and secure. you could basically loop that up 3 times extremely safely.
Mhm.
Even
Mhm.
in the 2008 crash, you didn't have property prices drop 33%.
Mhm.
But 15 minus 5, right, the interest rate,
Mhm.
is 10. 10 times 3 is 30%, right? And not only that, if you invested 100
Mhm.
and you loop up 3 times, you have not only 30%, but it's 30% of 300,000.
Mhm.
So off of a principal of $100,000, you can make 90 grand a year. That
Mhm.
is like insane. That's what the bank is doing right now.
Mhm.
That's like the kind of money that the bank is making. Uh, so to keep going, we have Honey Shares. We have another platform called Redex. They're kind of like an everything tokenization platform. Uh,
Rate
very
X, is that what you said, or a different?
Redex.
Red X, okay.
They're very early on.
Mhm.
Um, and then we're continuing conversations with companies like Chainlink
Mhm.
and other oracles, because what better way for us to get distribution on this tech than to just go to the people that uh, are basically first to hear
Mhm.
from builders. Hey, if
Mhm.
I'm building anything, let me go to see what Chainlink offers. I'm just going to build on top of that.
Mhm. Mhm.
We are part of that stack on Chainlink, where
Mhm.
their service offerings, we are in a fantastic spot. So right
Yeah.
now, there's another one, Node Prop Tech. We just met with them.
Mhm.
They're not launched yet, but they do like townhouses and more single family type properties in the USA.
Mhm.
But it's quite exciting.
Yeah. There's so many use cases, and I'm in the world of DeFi as well, like using Bitcoin and Ethereum and Solana as collateral to borrow against. And I think what you're tackling is a very similar problem, but with real estate, which is a much bigger and much more established market. And for people who are a little bit newer to this world, I think it's such a phenomenal opportunity. And we have someone commenting here, kind of the fractional real estate or the fractional tokenization piece. Like if someone's mom or parents own a house and they leave it to three sons, they can each get the fractional shares distributed, on chain, one third, one third, one third, for example. And there's so many ways that the like efficiencies and the cost savings and um, the doors that fractional ownership and tokenization opens up. You don't need to hear it from me, but I guess I'm just trying to paint the picture for the audience as well.
Well, no, maybe you do need I do need to hear from you. Like, I didn't think about that. I didn't think about like, oh, somebody passes away. Maybe I just didn't want to think about such
Hmm.
a bad circumstance. But you're exactly right. Whoever commented that, I missed the name, but um, yeah, if you have somebody that passes away, right, probate. I mean, in New Jersey, it's not too bad, but in many, many, many states, the probate process is horrible.
Hmm.
Um, but if you basically have a company that owns this property, and that company's operating agreement states that if this person passes away, then these wallets, we don't have to name names. These wallets get the ownership tokens.
Hmm.
Um, you're basically able to forego that entire process.
Hmm.
It just has to be accounted for on taxes, which it would be anyways. It's not like, okay, grandma passes away, we inherited a house, we don't have to pay tax, no matter if it's tokenized or not. You're gonna have to pay that bill. But at the end of the day, that comment was extremely accurate and something that we haven't even focused on yet. But
Hmm.
I'll bet you if I should record this when I do it, to be like, I was right.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
I should call a probate office, right? A law firm that focuses on these types of estate plannings and things like that, and say,
Hmm.
"Hey, we have this technology that allows you to do exactly what um, that man said."
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. We're coming up on the top of the hour, Seby. Is there anything else that you want to cover? Anything that you want to make listeners or viewers aware of that we didn't get to touch on just yet? Um, that is worth communicating.
I think just stay tuned.
Hmm.
Resi is at a very, very important part in its life. Um, The technology that we're building right now is it's objectively in the direction of state of the art.
Mhm.
Do we stop there? No, right? Um, many people have raised money and built successful businesses on far less than even something that is state of the art. The fact that we're able to use Bittensor to be state of the art
Mhm.
in an open source manner and aggregate a community of people that feed you great ideas, that give you a platform like you are so gracious to do.
Mhm.
Um, it gives like these by being able to host on shoots and having distribution there and cost savings there. Like Bittensor is just the ideal environment to build all of this stuff.
Mhm.
And much bigger companies have been built on much less innovation and favor.
Mhm.
So, with all that in mind, the future is brighter than the past in the for the sake of Resi, right? The
Mhm.
token economics, without naming names or saying anything, is much better. Right? We have
Mhm.
more of an equal token holder distribution. We have uh, a team that is firing faster than ever. Um, And at the end of the day, we've essentially perfected this pitch. And once we have this intelligence, agents will come in. We're integrating with the X402 framework, the
Mhm.
1004 framework as well, to do like the whole trust and payments and cover all bases. Um, that's really in the agentic world, that's all the distribution you need.
Mhm.
Then Uh, we're also, I don't want to say what we're completely doing, but we are going through a bit of a rebrand.
Mhm.
Like now that Resi is something that you can see, touch, feel essentially, and use, um, we need a facelift, right?
Mhm.
The website is outdated. It needs an update, so we're going to be pushing things like that. But yeah, there will be no stone unturned. Everything will be improving all of the time. And if you know anything about Resi or myself, you will hear about it.
Mhm.
Um, and you will hear about it in a very explicit and excited manner. So, yeah, I want to respect your time. I know we're at time now.
No,
Gordon,
it's all good.
always a pleasure.
Maybe one final question, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but what do you think is an estimated timeline for the benchmark and the score to go from 85 to 82 to 95% plus to be on par or exceeding um this estimate from Zillow?
Okay, so I think by the end of this week, to play
Mhm.
it safe, we're likely going to be at 85%. The reason why
Mhm.
that's important is after 85%, it doesn't increase in 1% increments anymore. It
Mhm.
increases in 0.5% increments.
Mhm.
So, honestly,
It gets more difficult and difficult, obviously, the
yes,
closer you
yeah.
get, of course. Mhm.
So we have to attribute to that. We also like want to, be rewarding people.
Mhm.
I would honestly say by the end of the month. So in 2 months, because of this distribution to engineering talent that we have and
Mhm.
the economics we have, we were able to build something that not even Zillow in its billions of dollars in years and years and years was able to build.
Mhm.
That's to me, that's insane, right?
Mhm.
And also to be the best in the world at something. I don't know about you, but uh, it seems to be the case that you're a very driven person and you are essentially competitive in a certain sense as
Mhm.
well. Um, Very friendly though. You're a very
Mhm.
friendly guy. It's not like you're some
I
psychopath.
try.
But the the idea of being the best in the world at something has always excited me.
Mhm.
I come from a small town in the middle of New Jersey. You're like you're not in the big city. You're not this and that the other.
Mhm.
And I've always been like it's like looking up at all of your idols. And it's like, how do you get there? Is like you have to be the best in the world at something, and you have to be loud about it, and you have to be extremely intentional. And BitTensor gives me, at least, I can't put words in anyone else's mouth but mine. But that gives me the platform to be the best in the world at something.
Mhm.
That is why we're trying to be this catch-all for real estate intelligence, and I think we're well on our way. So that is what I will say.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. We're not going to hold you to it, but I am excited to see, even by the end of March, where we're at on the scoring, and I'll be keeping a close eye on it. I'm sure many other people will as well. Seby, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much again for taking the time. Glad that we could connect, and as you keep making progress, we'll have to have another conversation in a few months.
Yeah, quarterly convos. Let's do it, Gordon.
Absolutely.
Sounds like a deal.
Lock it in. I appreciate it, my man. I know you're busy, so thank you very much for taking the time. And yeah, if anyone wants to check out more information, they can go to resilabs.ai. You can check out the dashboard at dashboard.resilabs.ai, and keep an eye on X as well, because Seby's very good with the updates.
Thank you. And
Awesome.
yeah, reach out to me if you guys have any questions. We're in Discord. And have a great day.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you